Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CarPod. So today we're going to be talking about IB English. So at Hoover, IB English is an HL level course, meaning it's over the course of 2 years. And basically, we read books and we write about them. That's like the premise of the class. And so Claudia and I are both currently in this class, and we brought our classmate Nena, to talk about it with us. So Nena, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, so I'm Nena. I'm also taking IB English, or just IB in general, because I'm a diploma student and currently in 12th grade.
Yeah. So why did you choose IB?
So it was kind of more like my mom's choice. I mean, I knew I was gonna go into some sort of advanced classes, but she's like, no, you don't need to take like AP, you need to take IB because it's more worldly and it's gonna prepare you more for college. So I was like, okay. I mean, I wasn't gonna say no.
Right. Right.
So that's what it is.
That's fair. I feel like we've gotten that answer a couple times.
Yeah. So what was your CAS project? Or I guess your CAS project is kind of continuing.
Yeah.
So what is your...
So I started a book blog called Random Reads, and I basically just request people to send in reviews, and then I post them. And then I post on myself as well. It's a pretty like a low-key project. You don't have to do a ton of work.
Oh, yeah.
That's always nice.
Yeah, I feel like ours is kind of extra. Like, this,
Yeah.
This is
kind of
fun.
extra.
Like,
Yeah,
this is
fun,
creative, too.
Yeah. I like yours, though. Like, I've been trying to... I keep forgetting. Like, I'm reading all these books. I'm literally writing them down and be like, Charlie, add to Nina's CAS project, and then I don't. Sorry about that.
Fanuel submitted like 5 or 6 last month. I was like, I'll take it. It's just all Fanuel.
Okay, so your EE, since that's a part of the IB diploma, what was yours about?
So mine was a global politics EE, and I talked about, or I kind of analyzed whether the Korean wave, so like Korean music, TV shows, that kind of stuff, whether that would improve the relationship between North and South Korea. And it sounded cool at the time.
This is a common
now,
theme.
Like every time K-pop comes up, I'm like, it makes me think of that. So, I mean, it was an interesting experience. I think, like, Mr. Hanley's definitely talked about how it'll prepare us for college, because, I mean, a lot of us are going to be doing, like, big pieces, papers, and, so, you know. I appreciate it from that standpoint. But did I like doing it? No, I did not.
I feel like the EE is pretty polarizing, you know, like, I actually enjoyed my topic and writing about mine, but then, like, half the people I talk to are like, I could literally go the rest of my life without hearing those two letters together. Like,
I just wish I had chosen a different topic.
Yeah.
Because at the time, like, junior year, I didn't know what I really liked. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, yeah, I would have changed it if I could this year.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so I guess we should transition into English. I feel like since that's an essay, it's a pretty good transition into English, so...
So do you want to give, like, an overview of English and what we're talking about? Maybe you could talk about some of the books we've read. Just, like, a general overview
So,
of
starting
English.
with junior year?
Yeah.
Okay, so junior year English taught by Mr. Lockamy, which I loved his class. He's just a really good teacher, very animated, and really gets you involved with the lessons. And in that class, we do a lot of reading and a lot of writing in class essays. Usually over the course of 2 days. You'll start one day and then finish it the next day. And also presentations. I think we did 2 or 3. It's like the 2 paper presentations.
Yeah.
And then like the poetry presentation as well. Oh,
and then the CDLs.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. Those made me so anxious. But yeah, in terms of like the books, I can't even remember how many we read. We read so many.
We read...
It was like... we start with... We did 1984.
That was our summer reading.
1984.
And then it was I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings.
Slaughterhouse 5?
Slaughterhouse 5. Oh my god.
Interpreter Maladies? Was that next?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Or,
Yeah, Interpreter Melodies was the third one.
House of Bernarda Alva.
And then
Little Chinese Seamstress.
Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress, and
Persepolis.
yes, Persepolis. So that's 6,
Yeah.
5,
6.
7.
7 if you include the summer reading.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about like which one was my favorite. I think it was Interpretive Maladies, just because that one, because they were short stories, it was a lot easier for me to like separate them from one another. Whereas like Slaughterhouse-Five just felt like a fever dream. Like I would start reading it really late at night and then not remember anything for the quiz. I was like,
Be like, I don't
and
even know this is
confusing on
real.
top of that as well. So that one was interesting though. I feel like some people would really appreciate it. Me, I was just like,
Sometimes I can remember if I had read it in Slaughterhouse-Five or if it had been like a weird dream
No,
that I had.
really?
I was like, I would just be shooting in the dark on those quizzes.
Exactly. What else do we do?
What was your so you said Interpreter of Maladies was your favorite. Is that what you wrote your HL essay
Yeah,
on?
so I did. Oh my gosh, what was the name of the short story?
Oh no.
Because I just remembered it as like Bori Ma, because I talked about Bori Ma, the character. Oh my gosh, it was the one where like she was the sweeper.
Oh
Remember?
yes.
Oh my gosh,
Oh.
I can't believe
I don't remember.
we just submitted our HL essays too.
No, I wrote mine on Interpretive Melodies, and I can't remember which one I did mine on.
Oh, mine was on the House of Bernarda Alba.
This looks so bad.
No, it's okay. This was last year when we wrote these, so. But
A Realtor One, that's what it was called. Okay,
There you go.
yeah.
at least you remembered it.
So like I wrote my essay, it was like about like the stratification of wealth and how like poorly they treated her, and I think I did characterization and symbolism as well. But I mean, for essays, I was really glad that I chose Lahiri because I mean I liked it, but I feel like doing a short story it can be easier for some people because you can easily reread it if you need to and reanalyze it rather than like a whole book. So
Yeah.
So,
Maybe we should explain what the HL essay is like.
or we could finish explaining what the classes are.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That was no, so senior year, do you want to talk about this year and what we've been doing?
so this year is I don't want to say it's been like super chill, but it's not as much like
There's a lot
of the
of structure.
Yeah. It's a bit more. No, let me not say that. I don't want to.
Cauldron has like a unique plan for each book and each section of the reading and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
But like, what book did we start with this year?
Nadine Gordimer's
short stories.
My memory's so bad. Okay.
It's okay. I pretended like we didn't.
I
read them
blocked
all,
the short
so.
stories out of my head.
So yeah, we did Gordimer. Then I don't remember what we did after. Right now we're doing the Canterbury Tales, which is like it's fun, but at the same time I'm like bad at Old English.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are interesting. We do poetry not anymore really, but we
First
did
semester.
poetry every Friday. With Zimborski. However you want to say it.
Wisława Szymborski. She's a Polish
Yeah, I think it
author,
was
poet.
Poland.
Yeah.
I really liked her poems. They were good.
Yeah. They were definitely interesting. I think that's the one good thing. One of the many good things with Ivy is like the authors that we read are like so diverse because Nadine Gordimer's from South Africa.
Yeah.
Zimborski
Zimborski
is from Poland.
We've read something from like every continent other than South America and obviously Antarctica.
No. Because remember that poem that we read for the IO practice by Neruda, Pablo Neruda?
Oh,
He's
yeah.
from South America.
That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, we've read,
Everything.
except for Antarctica. But, you know, people don't... Do people live in Arctic?
I don't know.
Was there a
That's an
European
interesting
author?
question.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Garcia Lorca.
Yeah.
He's from Spain.
Spain.
This is my guy.
Yeah.
Lorca. Anyway.
Not Australia.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, did you say The Handmaid's Tale? That's something else
I
we
can't believe I
did.
forgot.
I
I really
love
liked
Girl,
The
you forgot The
Handmaid's
Handmaid's
Tale.
It was so
The
depressing.
Handmaid's
Though.
Tale was my favorite. That's on our movies to watch or shows
Yes.
to watch.
I
in
wanna watch
college.
it too.
I read The Handmaid's Tale in, like, during the pandemic, and I didn't like it.
Really?
I didn't like it the second time I read it either.
Really?
Yeah,
I
don't
love
know.
The Handmaid's Tale.
It made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, but I like books that make me feel uncomfortable.
Not uncomfortable in like a growth uncomfortable way, just like trigger warning.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
I should have
too
had
real
uncomfortable.
kind of way. Yeah.
Yes, like there's too many parallels that you can draw, and you're like, ooh, this
Yeah.
is kind of scary. Anyway, so yes, Coltrane's class is very much formatted differently
Yeah.
than Lockhamy's.
Mm-hmm.
What else are we reading this semester?
I have no idea.
Um,
I think one time I mentioned something about stuff from MLK.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
did
did.
say that we were gonna read some of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches. Another book, like we get to choose a book
Oh,
out of
yeah.
a list,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll do kind of like book club style. I
Yeah.
think we like read them and then we talk about it with our little groups. There's one more, I think.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
did say something else, but I can't remember
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, I think it was at the beginning
We'll
of the
find
year.
out later.
Yeah.
We'll come back and comment it on
Yeah,
the video.
we'll update y'all about that. But yeah. So,
Hey, now do you want to talk about the HLSA? Like, I know we kind of like talked about what Nena's was about,
yeah.
but do you want to talk about any advice you have for the HLSA?
So definitely choose a book that you like. Because similar to the EE, if you don't like it, you don't want to do it. So, and it probably won't be as good. So definitely choose a book that you actually like. I did mention like the short story thing, but if you don't like whatever collection of short stories you end up reading, then don't choose. You choose the book that you really want to do. I would say go back and revise it, but take breaks in between because, like a fresh viewpoint is definitely going to help you in terms of grammar. And also just making sure the essay makes sense and is like structured in the right way. What else? I would say definitely like the comments that Mr. Lockamy makes on your essay, and then like the help that Mr. Coltrane will give you with what do they call the IB guys on you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the IB
They're really
English, the IB
guys.
English guys, yes.
They're
Yeah.
I
really
love
helpful.
them.
And I
Yes.
think they look like Mr. Lockamy, Mr. Wendell every time. I literally, that's what I think every time watching their videos.
Oh no. Now I'm gonna think about
No, because wait, one of them's bald and then the other
Yeah.
one is like the other one's not bald, but like
He has like a little
Yeah.
bit of.
yeah.
Oh no.
It's just an English
I think
teacher
that's just an
thing. Or
IB
not
male
IB
teacher
yeah.
thing.
Did
Except
you
for
see the
Coltrane.
drawing? Mr. Wendell had like the drawing up on his like
One of the
on
juniors.
Yeah.
One of the
What?
juniors drew the IB
IB
bottle
book.
laureates.
Yeah.
What?
It's
Oh
so
no.
funny. I'll have to get Wendell to show it to you.
That's
It was so
funny.
good.
I mean, it's kind of weird though. Like most of our IB male teachers.
Or bald.
Or
McEwen's
or-
bald.
Yeah,
Balding.
McEwen, Wendell. Richardson's
Rutsky.
not bald. Hamley's
Yeah.
bald. Mr. Hamley, not Miss Hamley. I feel like I had to make that clear.
clarify.
It was Mr. Hamley. Richardson's not bald. Mr. Walker's not bald. But
Coltrane's not bald.
yeah, Coltrane's not bald. But other than that, Rutsky, Hamley, Wendell, McEwen.
The bald guys.
Yeah, the bald. the bald. Okay. I mean, Lockaby's not really bald either.
Yes, he is.
I mean, really?
Yeah, it's like he has some hair.
A little bit.
Not
Anyways,
completely,
anyways,
sorry,
okay.
Mr. Lockamy.
Mr. Lockamy said one that's what
Oh no! I'm sorry, Mr. Lockamy.
Okay, so I guess anything else you can think about with the HLSA? I
We
think
did-
for me, one thing I really wish I had like known about so I could think about it when choosing which one I wanted to do with my HLSA was with the IO. Like, because you have to choose two works for that and works that you have to compare. So I wish I had been able to use the work that I used for my HLSA.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I don't know if that necessarily would have changed what I chose for my HLSA. Might have. I don't really know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really have any tips because I pretty much struck gold with mine because it's one of the
Yeah.
essays that you'll write 11th grade year that you revise as needed for your HLSA. And so I chose the one that had the highest grade, honestly,
Yeah,
because
same.
I was like, that one must need the least amount of work. So I did that one, and I mean, I got a pretty good grade the first time around. So I'm hoping,
Come on,
fingers
IB.
crossed. Right, come on, IB. If Mr. Lockamy said it was good, then I mean, you have to say it's good. You know what I mean?
Okay, so do you want to talk about the IO?
So the other
I hated the
assessment
IO.
that we do, it really wasn't that bad.
Okay, but
like-
I hate speaking.
But during it,
Same.
like right before it, I was terrified. During it, it was fine. And now that I look back, I'm like, Charlie, you were so dramatic. It wasn't that bad. But how do you
it was
think?
that bad for me.
I'm sorry. I'm
Some
sorry.
of us
This
don't
is-
have that experience.
It's,
Charlie.
it's subjective, I suppose, relative, whatever, however you want to say it. But Nina, how do you feel like yours went?
So I was also very nervous going in because I don't like speaking. I think everybody in IB knows that. I'm just like the quiet person. But yeah, I was super nervous. While I was doing it, it got easier, but I did find myself like rambling sometimes because I would like look at Mr. Lockamy's face and he would like look confused. So I'm like, wait, no, it's like, so don't ramble in your IO. I probably didn't practice enough, and that was why.
Yeah. Same.
But other than that, I mean, he said it was fine. He tried to make me feel better at the end, so I was like, okay.
Coltrane did not try to make me feel better.
So this year, it was a little bit different because Mr. Coltrane was out for a couple of days when we were supposed to be recording our IAs. I mean, IOs. There's so many words,
yeah.
letters, acronyms, IB alphabet soup. But when we were recording our IOs, you usually do it with Mr. Coltrane, because 12th grade is when you work on the IO. But he was out for a couple of days, so some of us did it with Lockamy.
Mm-hmm.
You did it with Lockamy.
Yeah.
I did it with Lockamy too. And honestly, Lockamy, I really appreciate you, Mr. Lockamy,
Same
because
here.
I'm sure you're listening to this. I really appreciate it because you let me rant and get out my nerves beforehand, and then let me go. I appreciate that. Because I did surprisingly well. I'm not gonna lie. I thought after I finished it, I thought I was like, oh my god, I did not do well. But then I did okay.
Yeah.
I did better. Okay, but sorry.
I think we may have talked about it a little bit in our beginning episode.
Probably.
But Nina, do you want to talk like what the IO is?
Okay, so the IO, it stands for individual oral, and like was mentioned, you'll basically take two of the works that we've done. One is translated, and then one is non-translated, I believe.
Yeah.
So like for mine, I did The Handmaid's Tale and one of Zimborski's poems. And you'll just sit down for like a 10-minute like little session with Mr. Coltrane probably, and just compare the two works, but you don't have to like connect. You're basically taking a theme and you're showing how they're prevalent in both works, but you don't necessarily have to like compare them.
Like how they're the same.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah. You're just taking and showing like how each of the two works connect
Show
to the
whatever
theme,
theme,
the
yeah.
global issue.
So you have any tips for how to do well on it?
practice
Yeah.
multiple
Yeah.
times, like many times, because then, and also record yourself, because if you record yourself, you'll get to see where you're using like filler words, or maybe you pause for too long or something. So, you'll get to hear what you sound like and where you maybe need to work a little bit more on how you say things. Also, again, choose two works that you actually want to talk about. Make sure your theme is really specific and it's clear. And don't ramble. I mentioned that. Yeah, don't ramble like I did. I think those are my main tips.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any thing you want to add?
I think make sure your extracts are good, because
That
on
too.
the IO you get to use like up to 40 lines from a part of each work that you choose, and make sure you have good extracts. I think that really helped me. I feel like it also hurt me a little bit because I spent too much time on one of the extracts, and more than the other, so I had to kind of rush the second one. And also, that goes into my next tip: budget your time. Like Nina said, you have to practice, and with that practice, you'll figure out how much time you need to allot to both works. Do that, because it will help you so much because you get to look at the clock while you're talking.
Yeah.
So like you will be able to, budget your time.
And also sorry.
No, it's okay.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. Also make sure like you're considering like when you get nervous, you might talk faster or maybe slower. I don't know. I think most people talk faster when they're nervous.
Or freeze up.
So maybe
who knows?
or freeze up. Yeah. For me also like adding on to practicing, I wish I had practiced before I turned in my planner for the final time because like I realized my planner was not good. And that my like topic needed to be delved into more, but I couldn't do anything about it. And so I felt like that's something that kind of hurt me. So I wish I had like practiced before I had actually
Turned it in.
Yeah.
Because you get a planner, so it's like the car just went by. You get like notes basically to talk about. So you have like visual cues. So you're like, oh, this is what I need to talk about next. And I think that's really helpful because it's not like a speech.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to sound like a speech because then you'll definitely get it over with.
Yeah, and it's
way
just
too
you
fast.
and the teacher too. You're not like doing it in front of other students.
Like you're just sitting down next to each other. There's a phone that's recording and you just talk. Like it's not as bad as like you would think it would be.
Yeah.
So, I think those are the more specific things. I guess we haven't really talked about the exams much in class. We've been kind of we've been starting to work on paper 1, which, do you want to talk about what we kind of know about the exams?
I remember being absent when we started doing the pups.
Oh.
So, like, I
Okay.
What? Oh,
Okay.
God.
So paper 1 is basically you're given an extract. No, I think you have to do 2 of them. So you're given 2 extracts, maybe more, and choose 2. I'm not really sure
like
how. IB's weird about that sometimes. But so you'll get an extract, and then you'll get a question, and it's usually what technique creates what effect, and like with a specific technique and effect. And then you just write it, just like a literary analysis essay. You analyze it for the effect, and then you write to answer the question.
Yeah, which is basically what we do in Lakumi's class.
Yeah.
So you'll get a lot of literally practice all year with that, and then
And the extracts aren't
class.
like super long either.
Yeah, no, they're not more than 40 lines like the IO would be.
Yeah.
Like the IO extracts, and then we practice them in Coltrane's class as well.
And then for paper 2, my understanding from what my brain kind of is recalling a little bit is that where you like are given something and then you have to like connect it to like the works that we've already learned about and discussed in class somehow. I want to say maybe it's like a question and then you're like compare that you use and then you choose 2 works that two prepared works to like compare. And you compare them in an essay. I don't really know.
I think you're right. That sounds correct. Yeah, I think this is probably the only class where we haven't gone like as in depth into the exam. I think mostly because we've been reading
HLSA and
IO. We've been reading books, writing. So, I mean, it just hasn't really. Yeah. I think as a whole class, we haven't really honestly thought about it that much.
Yeah, we're thinking about it.
I don't know. But we will update y'all with that as well. With what was the other thing we were supposed to update? The book.
The other book
the
is.
last book that we read.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we got y'all that. We got y'all.
So, Nina, do you have any other tips for IB in general, IB English in general?
I would say really try to stay on top of the reading for junior year. Because sometimes it can feel like a lot, especially for something like Slaughterhouse-5. So don't wait until like 11 o'clock at night to like start reading this section because you will not remember anything for the quiz. And those quizzes are supposed to be like boosters for your grade, not supposed to be bringing your grade down.
Right.
So
reading check quizzes.
Yay.
Oh, and roll observation song. I forgot about that actually.
Mr. Lockamy has a very tight I guess not schedule, but like every class goes the same way.
Yeah.
We start with, and we had were you in our 0 period class last year?
I think it was 3rd period.
Oh. Okay. That class I think was a fever dream too. Writing essays at 7:30 in the morning
God,
is.
not
terrible.
I mean, anyway. So Lockamy, he starts the class like with role observation song. No, we do. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he has a
Question.
question on the board, and it has something to do with English or grammar or whatever, and we have to answer that question, and we have to do. We don't. Yes, we do have to. An IXL practice on some sort of grammar concept, and you have to try and beat him, like beat his
I
time,
forgot about that.
and you have to get like a perfect score in under the time, either under or equal to the time that he did. And while we do that, he plays a song, and it's called the Role Observation Song. It's all planned out for the entire year. And
It's not a song called Role Observation
no,
Song.
no.
That's just what he calls the
Yeah.
act of doing it.
Yes.
It's a different song every day.
Mhm. And sometimes it's not a song. Like sometimes he did the little lad.
Oh my
So-
God. I love that.
Like, yeah, it's not just yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun though, you know. It's nice to have that structure and know exactly what's coming every single day.
And so I guess, yeah, what you said, keeping up with the readings.
Yeah.
The
definitely.
vocab, if you study it a few times,
it's
most of
easy.
it's words that you probably have already seen, heard.
Absolutely.
Maybe with like one or two words that might be new, but so for the most part, the vocab wasn't overly daunting. Grammar tests, it kind of just depended on the unit in Lockmy's class.
Yeah.
I also think he made us practice enough to where
Yeah.
you eventually got it, so you were
Yeah.
ready for the test.
Right.
Between like the practice like specific for grammar and his IXLs, like by the time you're doing it, you usually pretty much got it.
I think one thing I have is that helped me write my essays at the end of, you know, each book was once I noticed something like an author was doing at the beginning of a book, you start seeing it as you're reading, highlight that.
Yeah.
Even if that's the only annotating you do, highlight it, because that is going to be your evidence for your essay, and that really helped me. I think what we didn't talk about was the CDLs and the poetry presentation.
Yeah.
So the CDL is another acronym.
This is a Lockmy acronym.
Yeah, this is a Lockamy acronym. It stands for Class Discussion Leadership.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And basically, everyone has to do it twice.
Once each semester.
Yes, once a semester. One for one book in the first semester and one for a book in the second semester. And basically you have to come up with like a creative way to quote unquote teach the class about whatever section you read from that book. And it can be a little daunting, but once you actually get into it, it can be fun because some people did like games, some people did like slideshow presentations, so like it was fun. How did you feel about yours?
I was definitely scared because I mean you're standing at the front of the room at this podium,
Right.
You have to read your seven
Concepts.
piece, yeah, and then you had to lead the class in some type of whatever you chose. I think I did a game or something because that was easier, less talking for me. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like once you actually got up there and started whatever you came up with, it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
went the very first CDO.
Oh,
Really?
Because we were 0 period and I was the first person to go, so I was the very first CDO for our grade.
No expectations though, you know?
Exactly.
And you can
I
literally
set the precedent.
Absolutely. I mean, you can do anything, you know?
Yeah.
So don't feel constricted to coming up with something super, super crazy, amazing that we're gonna remember for years and years and years, you know? It's what you make of it.
Yeah.
It can be fun if you make it fun, you know?
For the second semester, I did mine on the Lorca book, and I got the class to act out, or we divided into groups, and then
that
took
was
little
yours?
segments. Yeah,
I don't
took little segments from that reading from that night.
Yeah.
and got everybody acted out.
Because the House of Bernard Alba is a play.
Yes.
It's just for the people who are acting out. What are you talking about? And then the other thing, the poetry presentation. which is like a mock IO, but with just one work, and it's from a collection of poems that we read by
Jericho Brown.
Yes, thank you. The Tradition, which is fantastic book collection of poems, by the way. And you basically do what you do on the IO, but you use the whole poem instead of just like an extract. And
you just use one poem, not 2 works.
Right.
It's just more of a practice at getting up and speaking for
10 minutes. Yeah. I like the poem. Like, you get to pick the poem too. So, that makes it interesting. And then, there's one other the learner portfolio. I feel like we need to briefly explain that. So every work that you do, you do specific assignments for it. So you have to write a 7 concepts piece, which is the 7 concepts are 7 like themes that you're supposed to look for in the books that we read. Global issues connection, which is also kind of practice for the IO. So you take something that you notice in the book and write about it like on a global scale. The sister draft, which is something that Mr. Lockamy kind of created, which is just your essay planning. And then your actual essay, you'll put on there as well. And is that it? I think that's everything. I mean, you do that for every book in Lockamy's class. And then in Mr. Coltrane's class, you continue with that learner portfolio, and pretty much every assignment that you do for whatever books or stories that we read, you put on there. So it's like a whole, it's like exactly what it sounds like. It's a portfolio of everything that you do with the books that we read, and it's all in one place, which I think IB looks at.
I don't think
so. Or maybe not.
It's just so you have it all organized in case they ever do want to see any of it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And you can make it look pretty. Mine looks pretty good, guys.
Mine looks pretty until I stopped keeping up with it, and then it does not look pretty anymore. Like, half of it looks pretty, but it's fine.
See, that's what mine was the exact opposite. Like, it was like halfway through last year, and I was like, I cannot stand looking at this. This is awful. And so I was like, Mr. Lockaby, can I change it? And he was like, okay. And so I spent like 3 hours fixing it, and so now it looks good again.
Yeah, I think that about covers it. Do you think of anything else, Nina?
I don't think so. I mean, all I can say is I really recommend taking IB English, both 11 and 12. I think they're both really great classes, and you'll learn a ton from them. Like, I came out of Mr. Lockamy's class, I thought I was an expert in grammar. I was like, every time my mom would speak, I'd be correcting her. Like,
no!
But yeah.
Also, take Mr. Lockamy's African American Lit class.
I wanted to! I wanted to take it, and I couldn't.
And then IB science classes are offered during the same period this year as that class, and they're both only offered first period. It's so sad. I wanted to take it too. Yeah. But if you can take it, you should. Another plug. This is like the third time oh no. We almost dropped something again. This is like the third time we've played that class. It's so good.
It's such an amazing class. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's everything, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Awesome. So Nina, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode. So Nina, for the people that are listening on YouTube, we always ask them to comment an emoji. So what emoji do you think they should comment?
I mean, I feel like this one's kind of boring, but I always use it. It's like the one that's smiling. It has a little blushy cheeks on it. Yeah. I use it all the time.
The blushy face emoji. Mm-hmm. Comment that for this episode. Nina, thank you so much again for joining us. Really appreciate it. And thank you everyone again for listening to this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.